Itadori is a demon god from the Heian era. So there's been a ridiculous amount of theories about Yuji's birth and his heritage and where it all fits into this world of Jujutsu Kaisen. But in the last chapter of 214, Sukuna gave us a little interesting possible hint on Yuji's background, with him saying, right, this brat, he's from back then. And I personally think he's referring to Yuji being around a lot longer than what we've been led to believe. But you know what else has been around for a lot longer? That subscribe button down below, and you should definitely click on that because we are closing in on 5,000 subscribers right now, and that's kind of exciting, so subscribe. But it's not as massive as this theory, so let's sit down and go over everything that we know. Yuji Itadori is one freaky powerhouse, even before he ingested any cursed fingers from Sukuna, and you could even make the argument that Yuji had heavenly restriction before ingesting the finger and unlocking his cursed energy. But we'll come back around to that in a second. Kenjaku has been around for at least 1,000 years, and we know a few things about him. Number one, he is Yuji's father, having taken over Kaori Itadori and given birth to Yuji. 2, he expects a lot from Yuji for seemingly nefarious reasons, but we don't know why. And then number 3, he believes the next stage in humanity lies in optimizing cursed energy, as he says at the end of the Shibuya arc when he's facing off against Yuki Tsukumo, RIP. Now bear with me here, and also keep in mind that this is a crazy crackpot theory here. Before Yuji Itadori ingested a finger from Sukuna, he was already freaky strong. We see him demonstrating this strength multiple times, with him jumping from ground floor to 4th floor of a school building. And we know the heavenly restriction is something that has been a big part of the Jujutsu Kaisen series. For example, Toji Zenin intervened in the merger 11 years ago, when Master Tengen describes Toji Zenin as an anomaly who escaped from cursed energy. And escaped is a very interesting word to use right there, but that's a video for another day. Tengen then goes on to say how Toji was a human being who would escape fate through the power of restriction. What if Kenjaku figured out early on how to create a human being with heavenly restriction? It's obvious that Kenjaku was one smart cookie, considering he's figured out how to hop bodies by transferring his brain from one body to another, giving himself a diet immortality. He's been around for a long time, and we also know Kenjaku made up to 10 Case Womb death paintings, with Choso telling us this during his fight with Naoya Zenin, that he's the oldest of 10 siblings. But what if he's not the oldest? What if Yuji was actually the first created, and Kenjaku vectored what he needed by having a human be created with heavenly restriction, which was Yuji at that time? However, no one could carry Yuji till term and birth him, so Kenjaku had to wait until he came across Kaori Itadori, whose body was strong enough to carry Itadori and birth him. And as for how Kenjaku created Yuji, I want to draw your attention to something that you might have glazed over. At the end of the Shibuya arc, Ryomen says to Yuji, whose body do you think that is, when Yuji drop kicks the ice off of Choso. And now we have Sukuna talking about this. This brat is from back then in chapter 214. Now we've heard of the big 3 vengeful cursed spirits in the series, and we know that Yuta and Gojo is related to one of them being Sugiwara Michizane, and Uru during her fight mentions that Yuta is one of the Fujiwara, which isn't confirmed the Fujiwara being a vengeful cursed spirit, but it was cool little nod and information on his heritage, possibly. What if the cursed spirit Kenjaku used to create Yuji was one of the vengeful cursed spirits? Choso mentions that Kenjaku had a cursed spirit impregnate his mother and then mixed his own blood into that in order to create him, the Cursed Womb death painting. What if the cursed spirit that Kenjaku used was one of the big 3 vengeful spirits, and the resultant birth of Yuji being born with ridiculous strength was the result of heavenly restriction, and Kenjaku figured him ingesting a finger of Sukuna in the future would be the key to unlocking Yuji's cursed energy, with him having a fusion of heavenly restriction and now cursed energy, meaning he would have optimized cursed energy into one body, having 2 of these things combined. Yuji being born from one of the big 3 vengeful cursed spirits would also explain why Yuji is such a quick learner for using cursed energy. When we look at his growth through his fights, he surpasses his limits every time, and he's really only had Gojo to teach him the basics, with Todo helping him a little further later on down the line. But after this, Yuji's growth is entirely based in combat and life or death situations. Now, as for who that vengeful spirit could be, we only have one confirmed name for a cursed spirit in this series so far, and that is Sugiwara Michizane. But what if the big bad of the series, the king of curses himself, Sukuna, was one of those first vengeful spirits. We know at some point that Sukuna was a human because Gojo himself tells us this, and it's possible that Kenjaku created Yuji from Sukuna, and that's why Sukuna and Yuji look alike. Even when Sukuna has moved from Yuji into Megumi, and we see Sukuna in his innate domain after he's left Yuji, he still looks like Yuji and hasn't adopted Megumi's looks. And this is why Sukuna during this chapter says this brat is from back then, and later goes on to call Kenjaku twisted because Sukuna just realized what he's fighting. And this could also be why Urarami says, "Whose body do you think that is?" in reference to possibly Kenjaku's creation being Sukuna's clone body double. I'm not sure. I hope this theory made sense because it is fueled by a lot of what ifs and a slight dose of copium, but what fun is a theory without a little bit of copium, am I right? But honestly, it makes sense in my head, and I'd kind of be funny if it did come true. But if you enjoyed this, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Much love, big kisses, bye-bye.